Hey friends, it's Dusty here, and I'm so excited today to be continuing with the Lord's Prayer. I pick up in Matthew chapter 6, verse 13, where it says, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one." What a cool passage of scripture. It got me thinking about when Ruby, who's our daughter, who's 4 years old at the moment, when she was younger, we used to take her to the shop. And I don't know if you're a parent, you know there are some aisles that you have got to avoid by all costs. And the one aisle is the Barbie doll aisle. There is a toy aisle in the shop where you just avoid going to that side of the shop. There's food that you got to get there, you get it in the next trip. Because if your daughter or your child sees that aisle and sees those toys, we've got some negotiations and arguing and fighting to do with them. And so we used to avoid it. The second aisle is when you go and pay. And you've got just that aisle of temptation where these sweets and chocolates, and you got to explain why you're not, and this and this. So it was a disaster. Until we decided the one time, you know what, instead of avoiding these things, why don't we start to teach Ruby why she can't have these things and why mom and dad are taking her down these aisles and not allowing her to get anything. And now at 4 years old, we go to toy shops, we go down to sweet shops, and Ruby knows that she can't have certain things, so she doesn't even bother asking us because she now understands. She has become strong enough to face these things. This is a beautiful scripture. This scripture is not saying that God tempts us to sin, because in James chapter 1, it says that God doesn't do that. And that actually goes against the very nature of God. So God is not tempting us to sin. But what the Bible is clear about is that God directs our paths, that He leads us down all these different paths of our lives. And God, being very much our Father, can't keep on avoiding certain paths that develop muscle in us, that develop strength in us. And just to keep with the analogy, He can't avoid the sweetie aisle because we don't know how to resist. And so God takes us on these journeys. He takes us down these aisles that allow us to develop muscle, allow us to develop strength, self-control, just like Ruby had to learn, so that we can become complete, learn the art of perseverance and resilience, all these beautiful characteristics. But for us to develop some of those characteristics, we have to go down the aisles of temptation. And so God takes us on these paths, but this doesn't mean that God tempts us. This means that it's actually highlighting the significant need for you and I as believers to avoid temptation, to flee from temptation. And this request to God is, Lord, if possible, could you not take us down these aisles? But I love the back end of that. The back end of that is so powerful that it says, and deliver us from the evil one. That teaches us that although we go down these paths, that we may feel tempted, God has got the power to help us overcome. Friends, there are no aisles that you can go down. There are no journeys you go down as a person that God does not have the power to deliver us. But I tell you, some of these aisles that we go down, that we face temptation, are good for us, because when we overcome them, there's a sense of achievement, there's a sense of security, a sense of fulfillment, a resilience, muscle that builds in us. So what a beautiful part for us to be praying, Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. I hope that blessed you. God bless.